Hey, good morning. Welcome to Free Agent webinar. We're going to do intros in a second, but essentially a nice overview of this is we're going to dive into Free Agent's MTD for income tax solution. We're going to hear from some of our partners to chat through the beta experience and the world of MTD. And then we're going to showcase some of Free Agent's newest launches in the MTD space and what's coming next. So welcome you all here today. I hope the weather's all right with you. I'm in sunny Edinburgh and I can actually say sunny. It's not normally sunny in Scotland, but that's where we are. That's where we are today. So hope you enjoyed it. And then we're going to go through some agendas in a second, some housekeeping. But firstly, let's do a wee intro. So should we go from left to right? Dianne, do you want to do a wee intro for yourself?
Yeah, hello, I'm Dianne. I'm a solo practitioner accountant with Ricson Accountancy Services based in Hertfordshire, and I'm happy to say it's sunny here as well, so it's all good.
Nice, thank you, Dianne. And Bobbie?
Good morning, I'm Bobbie Brown. I'm a sole practitioner limited company, Northumberland Accountants and Tax Advisers. It's just myself and my husband, so just a small team like Dianne. And I'm in Northumberland, which also is sunny. So we've got 3 out of 3, that's good.
Lovely, September sun, that's great. Hi folks, for anyone that doesn't know me, I'm Stu. I'm a staff product manager and I work for Free Agent, of course, and I lead all our tax and compliance products. I've been with the company for the best part of a decade. I was a small business owner before that, which brought me into the world of doing my own books and then into actually working for a vendor that does the books. And now I get to work with some fantastic engineers, and we essentially are building MTD and all our other compliance products in Free Agent, like VAT and payroll and all those kind of things. So some first-hand experience across the three of us in the panel today. So the agenda looks roughly like this. It is recorded, and I'll get to that in a second, but we're roughly going to be here for an hour or so. We've got a little bit of a kickoff, which we've kind of done, and I'll do a single slide on MTD and the overview and timelines and those kind of things. I'm not going to spend a long time on this. This isn't really a webinar designed to tell you about what MTD is. I think there's plenty on HMRC's website, and there's plenty of discussion in the industry at the moment around that. We're going to focus mainly on these 3 middle sections. A Free Agent demo. I'm going to walk through our landlord solution and our sole trader solution. I'm going to make some live submissions whilst we're here and kind of touch on everything that fits in the MTD space and some of our power features. We'll then go into a bit of a discussion with Dianne and Bobbie around the beta experience and everything that involved with going through the MTD for IT so far. And then the third main section is the upcoming releases. So I'll touch upon 2 or 3 of our releases that we've just made a big splash about, and then 2 or 3 of the things that are coming that we think are going to be really impactful to you all as practice partners. And then we'll do a wee Q&A at the end and a chat a little bit about HMRC's testing phase. So moving on from there, the kind of housekeeping is today's session will be recorded. So we'll send out recording after this, and if anyone's registered and it isn't actually here and watching this back, you will be watching a recording. We have a box on the right-hand side for all attendees. I think it's on the right. There is a Q&A. So please don't use the chat function. There is a Q&A function, which is kind of the same, but not. So please put all the questions in there that you want. We'll have a chance to cover a lot of these at the end. And we have a team behind the scenes, Ben Morley, for anyone that knows who that is, and a few others who are answering these questions live. Most importantly, please be polite and respectful to each other. We are representing our firms and Free Agent here, and we want to be as well behaved as possible. We'll answer what we can. There may be things we can't answer, and that's fine. We'll endeavor to get back to you afterwards, but as long as we keep that decorum, that'd be lovely. And finally, there's going to be a few polls that pop up, very, very short. I'll keep them live for the maximum a minute. And if you'd like to participate, that would be great. So moving on from there, let's get into the first slide that needs to be included in case anyone isn't familiar with Free Agent. I've tried to dumb it down into a few bullet points. We are award-winning accounting software. I'm extremely biased. I would say we're the best in the market, and for the MTD for IT-sized clients, fully HMRC recognized and MTD compatible. We've been around for the best part of 20 years now. We have support all based in the UK. All of our support accountants are ex-accountants or trained, have accountancy qualifications, and it's a really USP for us. We have an intuitive mobile app and a desktop. We're fully cloud-based. And the thing that comes up more and more these days is that we are free if you bank with NatWest, Royal Bank of Scotland, Ulster Bank, or Metal. And we are owned by NatWest, and then that kind of offer comes with that. So your clients can get free banking and free accounting software, and it includes all the bells and whistles. So that's FreeAgent in a nutshell. Moving on from there, the single slide on what MTD is. I said I wouldn't spend too long going into the legislation and all this kind of stuff, but in as simple a form as possible for anyone that's not aware. I'm pretty sure that hundreds in the attendee list at the moment are all aware, but from April 2026, any sole traders and landlords, or any of your clients, in other words, with qualifying income over 50K per annum based on the previous tax year, are eligible to be included within the MTD for income tax space. A year later, it's 30K, and a year later, it's 20K. And we put a wee asterisk there to clarify what income is. That's the depth of what we'll go into in terms of what is this. We'll now go into far more interesting things. But firstly, we have a wee poll. So if you're able to click on the screen and go through these questions, we have the question of, would you like to talk to our team about starting a free trial of FreeAgent? For anyone that's not using FreeAgent by any means, then if you want to kind of give a trial, then feel free to do so. And this is a poll of just suggesting whether you want to. If you're already a partner, we have option C, which is I'm already a partner, but I'd love to hear from my account manager. I'll leave this on the screen, maximum 60 seconds. This isn't going to stay up for long, and we'd really appreciate any input here whilst you do so. I can see some kind of questions coming in the Q&A as well, which is great. Feel free, if you've already registered in the poll, if you want to throw some things into the chat box, then you absolutely can. We'll try and answer everything we can live, and as I said previously, anything that's not, we'll try and cover at the end between myself, Bobbie, and Dianne. Cool, maybe 20-30 seconds left. I can see about 50% of attendees are in already, which is great. We have about 1,200 registered for this webinar or so seeing some really nice numbers. Give it about 10 seconds, then I'll move on, and then we'll go into the product demo. Okay, let's move on from there. Okay, cool. So single slide. I'm actually going to start sharing my screen now and changing from this into some live accounts and walk through FreeAgent's MTD for IT solution. So let me just do that now. Share up a wee tab, and we're going to go into this account over here. I'm going to shift my gaze slightly onto this screen over here as I walk through this. So if you're not familiar with FreeAgent, this is your accountant's dashboard. So I'm in that product at the moment. It's got a green banner at the top, and this is where accountancy practices go to manage all their clients. At the moment, I'm looking at my client list, and I'm going to dive into a landlord account to start with. So FreeAgent has a separate account type for landlords. It's a really powerful way of supporting landlords and keeping the income stream separate. And I'll show you why we think that's really, really powerful. So I'm currently on the overview screen here, and we've got our kind of cash flow graph, and you're able to see the cash flowing in and out of the bank account. And we've got a few widgets here that can all be customized and moved around. But this is what we really hear from, especially from your clients and those under the MTD size of business, that is really helpful to get in a glance. And this is all mimicked on our mobile app. So you've got your invoice timeline of what's due and what's to be paid. You can change it to show the breakdown of invoices, any estimates, projects, time slips. Over on the right-hand side here, you've got your bank account, and you see the running balance. You can change it to see a specific bank account if you want, or them all. In the bottom left widget, you can see your expenses and your bills. So bills are your kind of supplier purchases, and expenses are any employee expenses, and at the tax timeline. Now, this is something that we're really proud of and gets a lot of really good press here, is that we allow every client and every user on their account to see all their upcoming deadlines, all their upcoming amounts and dates, or you can show a quick P&L, and you can move all these things around if you want to kind of customize them. So that's like the landing page into FreeAgent. That's what all your clients will see as a default. But going on from there, I wanted to chat a little bit about property and landlords, because we're doing this in a different way to many of the market solutions. As I said, I think it's the most powerful way of doing it, and I'll show you why, and I'll let everyone else be the judge. So in this property area, we have the overall profitability, and I've got 3 properties set up: Main Street, Baker Street, and West Wallaby Way. I can go and add a new property, and it's quite straightforward. I can stick in anything we want. and create a new property, and we get basically a null P&L because there's nothing against it, but it's a one-click, put in the address, and you've got a new property. Go back to the property area, and you can see that this is now arrived here. This is all dummy data, I should say, not exposing anybody's real data. But what we're able to do is we've got this property section settings section, and at the moment I'm set up as 100% owner of all these properties. But we've got the ability to add new ownership arrangements at a global level. So I can choose all properties, or I can choose individual properties. Let's say I want to choose Baker Street individually, and from a random date, let's go for the 6th of the 4th, 2024, I only want 50% of this property, and one of the other users on the account, let's say Dan, also has 50%. I can save changes, and you can see that despite there being a macro level 100% ownership, which will feed into my MTD for IT area, we now got split property ownership. I can do that again for as many properties as I want. Let's say the one I just created, and let's say we want to do this a three-way split. I'm going to take 50%, Dan takes 25%, and Rufus takes 25%, and I can save changes. Now, what this means is that every ledger that's now posted against these properties, whether it's invoices, bills, bank transactions, expenses, flows into these individuals' self-assessments. And you don't need to tag them when you're doing your reconciliation individually. So I don't need to say this bank transaction is for this property and it's 50% mine, then it's 25% Dan's, and then it's 25% Rufus's. That's all done behind the scenes here, and you don't have these options when you're reconciling to keep it nice and straightforward. And the really powerful bit is that all these individuals can now log into the one license, this one landlord license, and all file their MTD for IT obligations through that one license. I don't need one, and Dan doesn't need another one, and Rufus doesn't need another one. We can all use a single license, and we segment it based on these percentages, so that we keep it nice and streamlined there. So moving on from property, just before we go into the kind of IT areas itself, I wanted to kind of show our banking area. FreeAgent's banking area is a nice overview of all the bank accounts that the business has. You can have as many bank accounts as you want in FreeAgent. There's no extra cost for any of the things I'm showing today. And we give you a nice overview of the situation. You can change it to show individual bank balances or incomings and outgoings and things like that. We support bank feeds from all the UK banks. We've got our own open banking infrastructure in-house that allows us to do that. And we have automation that runs over on the top of the bank feeds. So step number one for clients within this space is add your bank accounts, whether they be through NatWest, Metal, etc., or any other banks. We support them all, and automation will run on them. So when we do, we pick up about 80% of transactions are automated from day one. And they're automated to about 90 to 92%, which means that from that first import for that client, however long you want to backdate it back, we're getting those percentages right. I would say word of warning to anyone in the market, if you're seeing any solutions that say they will categorize 100% of your transactions to a 100% accuracy, that's probably a red flag. But from this area, you can see that when I've got these transactions, this is payment from letting agency, renter deposit, everything that automation has picked up. For anything that our automation doesn't pick up, we do support the concept of bulk explaining. So we've got 3 transactions here that, for whatever reason, automation hasn't got. This is kind of all dummy data. I can click on them individually and say, this is all rental income over here on the right. This is all for the West Wallaby Way. I'll explain these in bulk. So we have that bulk reconciled, nice and easy. Or you can click and do it like all the transactions on a page if you want, rather than clicking on each one individually to go through that. The last kind of power feature I want to touch upon that fits in with the kind of client experience of MTD is Smart Capture. So Smart Capture is our OCR technology. It's fully built into the desktop here, as you can see, and into the mobile app, so clients can snap receipts on the way. I'm going to bring over a receipt I created earlier. It's a letting agency receipt. I'm going to show it up on the screen here. And what Smart Capture does, and it's probably done it already because it's pretty fast. Yes, it has. It categorizes the date of the receipt, it categorizes the value, and it pulls out the nominal ledger. And it does 3 things once it's kind of done all that receipt capture. The first is it runs this receipt and any receipts that exist in the account overnight against all the bank transactions and looks for matches. So if this exists as a transaction, if this receipt money has been received or paid, we will match them together so you don't have to go through and do it manually yourselves. If it's not a bank transaction, we have a one-click option here for creating an expense or creating a bill. So I can actually go, well, this is actually an employee expense, for example, and I can go through that. The attachment's already there. We've pulled out the date, we've pulled out the value, et cetera, which is a really nice way of creating those expenses and bills with essentially one click. So that's Smart Capture, and that allows the data entry to be nice and streamlined into FreeAgent. So from there, I'm actually going to leave the landlord account, which is exactly the same as a sole trader, other than the chart of accounts being slightly different to account for rental income. And I'm going to show the self-assessment area directly. So this is in a sole trader, and I'm going to go into the current year. So I'll close this just now. So this is our self-assessment area. I'll zoom out a little bit and then kind of go in when I go into details. So we have the estimate that is the combination of the data that we hold and what HMRC knows about that business. You've got the last updated date, and then we give you a clear breakdown of Q1, 2, 3, 4, any adjustments you need to make at the end of year, and then the signature and final declaration. So the way that FreeAgent works is we roll up all the income, and you're able to see a breakdown. So you can see this turnover there. That's the only nominal that fits under the income. Expenses has a breakdown of all the other nominal codes as you'd expect, and we give you the net profit. We include any kind of adjustments and disallowable expenses and things like that. And under each further tab, this is where you're able to make your adjustments and add your additional income. So you don't have to do this every quarter. You don't have to do this until the end of year, but we make it optional so that if you say you do have an adjustment, let's say I've got an averaging adjustment here and it's £500, then I can add that adjustment in. So when I send my next update, this will also be included in the tax estimate that I get back from HMRC. All your allowances, your non-financial information, any individual information that you may want to add, such as disclosures, savings income, UK savings account, all those kind of things, any losses. And what we do give you is a full tax breakdown that mirrors your tax return, essentially. So a lot of this information here that I'm kind of scrolling down is not just in FreeAgent, it is what HMRC know about you. Let's say you've got PAYE that's outside of this account. We bring this down and give you essentially your tax return in a single screen. And we allow you to export that. So let's say I've done my quarter, I've made all my adjustments, and I want to send an update. So I'll do this live. This is HMRC Sandbox. So a lot of the timings here aren't as accurate as they would be in real time. But FreeAgent allows you to send just a single quarter if you want. So I can say, I only want to say Q1, or you can send the year-to-date updates. You can send it up to more than a single quarter. We give you a clear breakdown to say your quarterly period is standard, we're sending it for this period of time, and we are including any adjustments, allowances, and non-financials. This will fulfill your Q1, and I will send that update. So while that's sending, what we've added, sort of offer some feedback, is the percentage that these are complete. So again, this is HMRC Sandbox environment, so that these aren't accurate timings, but we give you an updated percentage, and every time the screen refreshes itself, we show that it's processing, and we give you that percentage complete, and this will just jump around for a little bit. And when we're there, I'm going to actually go into the previous tax year to show you what it looks like once it's complete. So I'm going to dive into 2024-25 now. So in this tax year, I've filed all my quarterly updates and made all my adjustments. I can still do more if I want, and I've still got my annual tax estimate from HMRC. But we're now able to send our final declaration. And again, I'll show you what that looks like here. So, okay, I need to wait for the previous one to finish. Let me just dive back. Cool, into 25, 26. 98% complete, it'll be 100 in a second. There we go, tax submissions complete. So I've now seen this as filed, and I'm all ready to continue from there. So I can send another update if you want. We have no restrictions over how many you send. I'm able to say I want another update if it's the next day or the next few days, so you've got as accurate a tax position as you want. If I now go into the previous tax year and I send final declaration, I'm able to start my final declaration for the previous year. So we have a 3-step process. The first is create that final tax breakdown of everything. The next one is to review it, and then the third is to send it. So I'll create this just now. It will do the same again. We're basically sending all that information to HMRC. I'm allowed to kind of go around the account and do everything that I want. We don't keep you on the same screen. We're submitting this in the background. And again, we give you a percentage update. As with all things with live demos, this can take up to a few minutes, as we say. And I'll highlight that we do support a full export here. So whilst this is sending, you're able to get a PDF export of exactly what you submitted. So if there's any discrepancies or any kind of questions from your clients or even within your practice, you're able to see, well, this is exactly what I submitted from FreeAgent, as well as the full report, which shows what you have from FreeAgent and everything that HMRC knows about you combined. You may have multiple streams of income, you may have multiple accounts, you may have PAYE, et cetera, et cetera. And when this is done, we're about 25%. It should jump around quite quickly. I'll be able to show you exactly what it looks like once you go through the final declaration. 26, it's taking a bit longer than I expected, if I'm honest. Give me 2 seconds. There we go, 98. We'll get it in a second. Come on, HMRC, you can do this. There we go. Okay, so my tax breakdown's ready to review. So I can either click send final declaration or go back into the tax breakdown, and you'll see we're on the second section. So we suggest carefully reviewing this, and we highlight everything that we know about you. So all your personal information, your end of year estimates, your full tax summary, all your income tax, everything you would expect to see in that end of year tax return. And we give you a few options at the end. You can either save and exit this if you want to come back to it at a later date, if you just wanted the update and you're not ready to file it. You can reject it if you want to remove everything that we know from HMRC at this time, or you can accept and continue. And if you accept and continue, it's a signature and it's a send of final declaration, and you're able to send that to HMRC. I should point out, I want to point out, FreeAgent's the only solution on the market that's made a final declaration live in production to HMRC to date. There have been many providers on the quality updates, but for 24-25, we're the only ones that have supported that. So this has actually gone through in live, as well as me kind of showing it in a sandbox environment. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a little bit. That's the kind of quick overview of a demo of the FreeAgent features and our kind of core MTD area. As I say, it's recorded. People can go back and look at it. We can answer some questions on it, and I'm sure your account managers will be able to show you this in more detail if you want. But we're going to move on to the second section, which is the partner stories and how the beta has gone, what we've learned from a FreeAgent perspective, from a partner's perspective, and then go into the kind of core features that are new that I haven't touched upon, and most excitingly, I guess, what's coming next within this space. And a lot of that is about what's coming for the practice, what's being added to our practice dashboard to support clients. So I'll open this up, Dianne and Bobbie, to you both. Let's start with a kind of first question, a little bit around the MTD journey. You've both made submissions. You've both been in this as kind of early adopters. What do you wish you'd known at the very, very start of going through the MTD beta phase and the kind of journey that you'd wish, what would you wish you had known back at the start? And I'll throw this to Bobbie. What about you to start with?
It's not as bad as I'd anticipated. We'd already started our client segmentation when it was originally mooted for Making Tax Digital for income tax. And with us being a small practice, our main concern was how we were going to manage the peaks of workflow, especially when you add them to the VAT returns. And obviously, it's early days, and only a few of our clients are on the beta testing. We've got 9 on beta testing, 6 of which are on FreeAgent, and they've all gone through without a problem. I was feeling your pain earlier, Stu, when you could see the percentage and it was not creeping up to 100%. It was kind of sticking on 97%. And that happened to me yesterday, but it went through no bother eventually. What we've tried to do is make the testing work to our advantage in that we chose 2 clients who had loads of bank transactions, but they weren't on digital software. So we invited them to join the beta testing. as guinea pigs, and it forced them onto software, which is our ultimate aim. And you mentioned in your in your demo just before about the bulk reconciliation, and that has been a godsend, particularly for those two clients who have such a high level of bank transactions. We then selected another more complex one who was VAT registered, and we moved him onto FreeAgent from other software. And then we selected a CIS contractor and a landlord. So they're all working, and it's so much easier than we thought.
Nice. That's great to hear. I should say around the percentages as well. I wish we were in control of that, but unfortunately, I'm absolutely not. Thanks for that. That's really nice to hear. And it's great to see the breadth of client that you're using through this phase, and definitely want to give confidence of that you've got those different sizes and structures of business. Dianne, how about yourself? How do you find the kind of early period of MTD that we're in at the moment?
So I would agree with Bobbie that the transition is definitely not as scary as it first looks. Getting people set up and getting them onto FreeAgent, getting them registered on FreeAgent went very smoothly for me. I've only got a couple of clients on at the moment. There is only me, so I kind of limited it to make sure I could manage it. But yeah, I think the biggest thing with clients is the mindset, and that's what I'm working on at the moment with those that I'm not on the beta test with, but getting those, like Bobbie says, getting those not currently using software onto software. And for a lot of people, it's kind of that fear factor. So I think having a number of conversations and sort of getting them on slowly, getting them introduced to it. I think having the metal connection helps really well, because for a lot of sole traders, cost is kind of everything. So being able to say, well, look, you've got a free bank account and free software, then I think that really, really helps to get people on board. And then once you get them on and you can show them how straightforward it is, so many of them are like, oh, wow, I can't believe I didn't do this before. But it's just getting over that initial mindset. And then, the actual work on FreeAgent is very, very straightforward. So, it seems to be working really well for me.
Great, that's great to hear. I think we've always felt that FreeAgent, this is a really obvious place for us to do well in. I think FreeAgent was designed for the small business owner, at least for the first 15, 16 years of us as a company. It was very much the only focus. We're now trying to do a lot more for our practices as well. And I'll touch upon that a bit later. But yeah, it is the one thing that we've been trying so hard to do is, once you get people using the product, they see how good it is. So it's about just getting them to have a wee trial and a play around. So I'm glad that's coming through with the clients.
Exactly. Once they're on it, they kind of go, oh my goodness, why didn't I do this before? But it is just getting that first hurdle. So
yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
So in terms of those types of clients, have either of you used the beta with landlords? And if so, does that create any more problems, easier, harder, anything that's slightly different from the landlord cohort of any of your clients?
I find with landlords, we have got a landlord on beta testing, and that's me. So that's fairly straightforward. But the issue that we have with a lot of our landlords is they don't always use a separate bank account. So one of the huge benefits of FreeAgent is that you can link more than one bank feed. And if you're pulling in information on a bank account that's actually got personal transactions as well, that bulk the bulk approval that we were talking about just before is really, really helpful and and saves a lot of time to try and kind of ignore the personal funds. So I think the most problematic clients are going to be the landlord ones, and a lot of the software options actually charge per property, or they have kind of number of property bandings. And we've got one particular landlord who's got 14 properties, and I cannot get hold of him, and he needs to act now. So, we're trying to, like Dianne was saying before, educate our clients and get them to A, to accept what they've got to do and get the single bank account, and B, to get them onto the software sooner rather than later, so that they have that, oh wow, this is okay, experience that Dianne was mentioning before.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's worth pointing out, if I haven't already, the Free Agent doesn't charge you per property.
Mm-hmm.
We allow you to have as many as you want. We suggest I think what we're seeing is, once people get into the double digits, they tend to go limited anyway, and so that seems to be quite
Not
a common
always.
thread. Not always, yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Dianne?
So I haven't put any landlords on the beta test. I only have a few landlords, and yeah, I have to admit, I kind of avoided them for probably similar reasons to what Bobbie's saying. Is I find that they are going to be more of a challenge. So I thought with doing the beta test, I went for kind of straightforward ones so I could learn it without too many problems. But yeah, I think landlords are generally, a sole trader, it's their business. So even if they're not on software, they generally have a better idea of, their incomings, their outgoings and things. Whereas I find landlords, as Bobbie was saying, quite often it's mixed up with their general money, and they don't have a clearer picture of what's ins and outs. So yeah, that's part of the challenge is getting them. But yeah, that is the beauty of having the metal one, is hopefully trying to get them onto a different bank account, and then linking the two and trying to weave your way through the madness a little bit. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's it. Doubles down into it's the free option, and I think a lot of these clients are price sensitive. I'm sure they are, and so getting the free business bank account with the free accounting software that comes with all these bells and whistles, and it is such a nice proposition. I think a year ago or so, maybe 18 months, we did a really wide research project with practices around what the problems are. They forecast the problems were going to be, and the vast majority of them called out personal bank accounts and the problems that creates. So being able to offer the business bank account certainly makes sense here. I should say,
I think the big thing with landlord clients is that they see it as investment income rather than business income. So they're not as focused on it being a business, and therefore they're going to struggle a bit more with doing quarterly returns, because for them it's an investment, and they kind of maybe look at it once a year and put everything together. They normally have like a managing agent, stuff like that. So they just get the money. They don't really think about it.
Yeah, totally agree with Dianne there. Yeah.
Perfect. I've been looking at a couple of the Q&A as well, which kind of touches upon this. I think it's worth calling out that Free Agent is MTD ready. These are live submissions that we're going through for both sole traders and landlords. I think there's been a couple of questions around that. And we've actually seen quite a nice split, far more landlords submitting through Free Agent than I would have expected at this early stage, which is great. And a couple of questions around how many submissions we made and where we are. I think I can safely say that Free Agent's in the top two. I think we were top for quite a long time now, top two numbers of quarterly updates made for 25-26, and the only one to have done a final declaration for 24-25. So this is not screenshots. This is very much real and live and actually going through it together. In terms of practical tips then to you both, and maybe Dianne, I'll come to you first on this. What advice can you give to any other practices who are in that stage of preparing their clients for MTD and maybe haven't started any testing yet?
So I think, like Bobbie said earlier, it's getting that segmentation. It's understanding which of your clients are already on software and are, updating software regularly. So because they're the ones that are going to be easy, quick wins, down to the ones that are currently not on software that, like Bobbie's landlord client, you can't get hold of. They literally come to you at the end of the year, and it's understanding your different types of client and therefore the amount of work that each are going to require. And then kind of working with them, I think, little and often trying to get them, into webinars, into chats, so they understand what their responsibility, because at the end of the day, we can help them, but it is their responsibility to submit. So it's, we can't force them to do anything, but it's trying to educate them, trying to give them the options, trying to make them understand, the option to use Metal, to use Free Agent, and those sorts of things. So just, I think lots of little training sessions, chats to try and get them on board, as long as you can get hold of them. So that's, you know, the other bit.
Yeah.
And would you agree with that, Bobbie? Does that kind of resonate with your kind of advice?
Absolutely. Yes. Start now. As Dianne said, segment your clients. We kind of split them into those who are quite receptive to IT and are likely to be quite independent, and then those who kind of need more hand-holding, but they'll do the data entry themselves. And then the other group are those who are total technophobes and we're going to have to do everything, or the ones that actually, you know, it's like pulling teeth trying to get information from them. But also we are trying to get as many clients on board as we possibly can. And I don't know how other accountants would feel about this, but at the moment we've made the decision not to charge for the beta testing, in as much as we're effectively saying to our clients, look, will you be a guinea pig for us? And we know that the work that we're doing now would have been done at the end of the year anyway. So we will kind of get our remuneration, if you like, for that work at that point. And obviously, once it's mandated for clients, then there will be charges, but not at the moment.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. And I think my kind of final question around this, we've maybe already touched upon it, is really about FreeAgent specifically, and the features that we have, or the submissions that you've made. Is there anything? We've touched upon bulk bank explanations there, but is there anything else that you think this has saved me time or my clients time that through this MTD experience for either of you?
I would say that, and it's been clear from the slides that you've shown, FreeAgent has made it very simple and straightforward. And one of the things I love about FreeAgent is it's very much geared to the individual. You don't have to be an accountant to understand the terminology that FreeAgent uses. And so it's very straightforward. You know, I want to file a quarterly return. It's going to be in the taxes tab, and it's going to be in self-assessment. And also silly things like, well, they're not silly things at all, but FreeAgent will prompt you if you are about to try and file a quarterly return, you haven't got the NI number in. We use separate software, or have been using up until now, separate software to do the year-end tax. So you wouldn't normally put your UTRs and your NINOs in the FreeAgent data. So they warn you haven't done it, or they warn you, you know, you'll get to a certain stage and it'll be greyed out, because FreeAgent will give you a message saying, actually, before you do that, you need to do whatever, you know. So it's very easy to understand what's working, and it's incredibly quick.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. Dianne?
For me, I think the big thing is the app. Having the app, you know, particularly with my sole trader clients, when they are coming back from, you know, assignments and on the train, they're able to update everything. So they're able to keep everything up to date, put their receipts on there. And I think that just makes things a lot more straightforward. And, you know, everything is updated more regularly, which obviously then helps when you're getting to the quarter end. It's pretty much all done and ready to submit. So I think having that functionality with the app that they can use on their phone is brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to hear. I think it's one thing that it's that sort of journey you both touched upon that we hear being the kind of key steps is get a bank account with the bank, download the mobile app, connect your bank feed if it's not already connected. And if you're using the Smart Capture OCR technology, then so much of it is done for you. I'm never going to use the phrase, it's just a click of a button. I don't think that is ever going to be as easy as just that. And I think that kind of undermines all the great work that bookkeepers and yourselves like accountants do to make it right. But it gives you such a running start for these clients, for sure. Cool. Well, thanks for that. I'm going to move on to the kind of next section now, where I chat a little bit. I'm going to go into to a live FreeAgent account as well, show a couple of the newest releases in this area, and then a couple of the things that are upcoming, which are being built as I speak. So I'm going to show a couple of those, and then we've got a wee bit of time for Q&A at the end. There's been over 100 questions so far. There's 4 of our team in the background answering them individually, and we'll call out a few of them that we've not been able to touch upon today as well. So I'll quickly share up my screen again and dive into a live account and talk through three of the core features here. So for anyone that's not aware, I think it's the first thing to say that's probably fair is technology moves fast, and it is very difficult to keep up to date with FreeAgent's latest release and then all of our competitors' latest releases. But one thing that we've introduced very recently is the concept of find and fix. It's either bulk reclassify, find and recode. You might notice all these things where whilst I showed in the banking area, you can go and say, this is right, this is wrong, let's change them to a certain amount. We have this centralized place where you can do it across the whole count. So you can pick your date range, your accounting categories, if you only want to search for only sales, for example, or a multitude, select a VAT rate or an amount or a contact, etc., etc. Narrow down your search as much as you want. I'm just going to go for completely everything on. And let's say you get these 3 results at the bottom, these 3 transactions, and you go meal out with the family, refund of second meal, payment to Costa. This isn't business entertaining. It's not accountancy fees, not advertising and promotion. You can click as many as you want. And then again, this is across invoices, bills, expenses, bank transactions, all these things. And you can proceed to fix them in one go. So in this case, I want to say these are all accommodation and meals. I'm able to change the VAT rate if I want in bulk. I'm not going to make any changes here. And then I can say, I want to fix these items. FreeAgent does a wee whirly in the background here. And then you can see that these changes are made under the find and fix area when this kind of loads. And then we also provide an audit trail, which I'll show you in a second here. So if I jump into find and fix, then these 3 changes were made successfully. You can check them in the history tab. And now I go to history, I can see that literally just now I've made 3 changes to the accounting categories, and I can view the breakdown of all those details, who made it, why they made it, etc., etc. And you can do an undo for these as well. So that's a huge time saver that we've heard from our practices. It is a really nice piece of support around these clients' accounts. The second thing I want to touch upon of the 3 of the new ones that is live is the support for contractors under the CIS regime. So I'm already a subcontractor, but let's say I'm now registering as a contractor. I can say I am, and my reporting start date is, well, whatever I want it to be in terms of showing the CIS 300s in FreeAgent, and I'm going to pick 6th of September 24, and I get paid monthly. So I'm going to save those changes, and that setting has allowed me to see CIS across the account. So now under my taxes area, and this is in the client area, I can see CIS. I've got all the CIS 300s back to when I said my starting date is, including the open period today. And what that also allows is every time I go to my contacts now and I create a new contact or I edit an additional contact, I'm able to suggest if they're a CIS subcontractor or not. So I'll take the top contact in the list here. This is Morris. And if I go and edit Morris, then in the bottom section under the ability to edit, I can say, this is now one of my subcontractors. So you'll see this is turned off for everybody, but you're able to turn it on for each individual client. They are on the 20%. I'll give them a generic UTR, and then the same for an SVN, and I'll save changes. Now, I've flagged that this person is one of my subbies. I'm going to add a bill against them, just as you would in real life, or your clients would. Let's just stick in tests for the minute, just for the purposes of the demo. And I've got new categories in the chart of accounts. So under cost of sales, in our drop downs, we've got CIS labor, we've got CIS materials, we've got accommodation meals, etc., etc. So I'll pick materials here and say that that's £500 worth of materials. I'll add another bill item. Let's say I want to add for CIS labor, and it's another £500 of labor. So I'm just creating that CIS bill, and we show the clear VAT rates as well as the CIS deduction rate on the bill. And I'm just going to add a manual bank transaction for the sake of time. And let's say that was paid as well. So now this bill is paid. It's got the CIS deductions on it because I'm a contractor. And I go into my CIS 300. And I can now see that Morris Abraham appears. I can see his UTR, SVN, the breakdown as you would expect to see of the payments, the materials, what's liable for deduction, and what's the CIS deduction made, and then all the submission details from there. When the submission is filed, we also flag if anything has changed as well which is a really nice thing. So I'll show you exactly what that looks like. Let's say this has been filed. I'm just going to mark it as filed for just now. And I go back to this client, and then I go to this bill and I say, well, actually, me or my client has miscategorized that transaction. So I'm just going to delete it. So I'm just deleting the bill payment. I can now go back to the CIS 300 and we change the status to edited since, marked as filed. And I can now see what was filed and then what it is now. And we call out that changes have been made and required review. So again, it's just that belt and braces. We know from the CIS area that a lot of mistakes can be made. And so we want to really flag what's changed. The last thing I'm going to call out in terms of a new release in the last couple of months is our management reports function. So for any of those businesses, it may be MTD, IT sized, it may be more, we now offer the ability to create management accounts or a management report pack. It's essentially a collection. This is an executive summary of P&L, balance sheet, debtors, creditors, and some nice rows. And you can pick your periods, pick your difference, pick your percentage change, and we'll show you an up and down arrow. And you've got all these drop downs at the top, which say, I want them to be a quarterly comparison, or I want it to be just a one-on-one comparative. And you can pick your periods, et cetera, and then go into each of those individual reports in the background, make your adjustments, and it will all pull into the pack that you can then export as a PDF or export as a spreadsheet with a section for notes. What we're just about to release here is a section to add notes to every single report individually rather than a single section for notes. But this is, again, a really nice way of offering your advisory services or anything on top of just the kind of standard bookkeeping or tax filing that we now compile for you that you're able to offer to your clients. I think I'm going to just show two things that are not live yet, that are just about to go live in the next month or so. So for those of you that not use FreeAgent, I'm back in the dashboard product now. So the green banner along the top here is your accountant product. We are adding this table in essentially, and I'll zoom in a little, but what this is we are calling it MTD for IT submission summary, and it groups all of your clients and all of the users on your clients by their MTD status. So you've got ready to file, ready for their approval, upcoming and filed, and you can see we've got the client name, the user, what submission is next, when is it due, what's their status, and I'll touch on approvals in a second, and then if it's overdue or due and when it's due, and then the actions you want to take from your dashboard. So that will all be at the practice level rather than having to go into each individual client to see. And the second thing that we're just about to add is this new area in your dashboard called Client Submission Access and Control. And what it means is essentially this. We are adding, for the first time in FreeAgent, the ability across all your tax areas, you can see end of year, self-assessment, payroll, VAT, and CIS, the ability to turn off the area if you don't want your clients to see it, the ability to stop them making submissions if you want, and to require approvals if you want. So for each of these things, we say for legacy self-assessment or for your MTD, you want your clients to see it, or you only want your staff to see it. And then for submissions, you can say, I don't want anybody to make submissions, or I only want quarterly updates, or only allow them to do the end of year adjustments, and then approvals. So when we go live with MTD, when everything kind of rolls around in April, we will have approvals turned on for your final declaration, and you're able to add them on for your quarterly updates, or even turn them off completely. If you don't want your clients to give you an approval and you're happy with just doing it yourself or them doing it themselves, you can turn it off. But if you require that approval and you want it inside of FreeAgent and inside of our audit trail as well, you can turn all that on. And that's totally up to you as a practice. And we're rolling that out across all the tax areas as well. So you can introduce that for VAT, corporation tax, et cetera, et cetera. So these are the two things that coming up very, very soon. So I'll stop sharing there. We've got 5 to 10 minutes maximum to go now. So I'm going to go into the next slide, which is another quick poll before we go into a bit of a Q&A. So everyone should have the poll up on their screen if you're still with us. And the question is, would you like FreeAgent to get in touch with you about more information around we can help you practice? That includes using FreeAgent. It can include the help and guide that we can provide to you as a practice. It includes everything that we can give to your client. We've got so much material that we're able to give to your clients on your behalf. You can put your own names in that if you want, or you can do it on behalf of FreeAgent. Then we'll reach out to you and offer those services to you. None of this is chargeable. Of course, we're more than happy to provide these services in with the package of being a FreeAgent partner and everything that we provide. So I'm going to leave this up here for maximum another 45 seconds or so, and then we'll jump into a bit of a Q&A. "30 seconds or so, folks." Nice. Okay, we'll think about moving on. About 5 or so minutes left, and I'll move on to the next slide. And yeah, about now. Okay, cool. So this is just an opportunity for us to call out that we are welcoming everybody to join the beta phase to use FreeAgent. We are extremely confident in our solution. We're extremely confident that we are ready. You've heard some first-hand experience there from Bobbie and Dianne. I know there are providers out there who aren't ready and aren't willing to let anybody join. We're not gating ours in any kind of way. So if you do want to join, you are more than welcome. And that's both as a client, as an end user. If you want to put yourself through this without being affiliated with FreeAgent in any way as a practice, you can do so, and you can do so by signing up for FreeAgent, and you can opt in via your account. You don't need to go through our support team or anything like that. And the same as a practice, you can connect up to HMRC. Then if your clients are connected, you can click inside of FreeAgent to say that they're already connected to HMRC and file away. So feel free to do that. And we've got all this help on our website. This is one of our web pages that takes you through all of this. So if you go onto FreeAgent's website and under accounting and bookkeepers, we'll show you all that advice. Okay, so a little bit of a Q&A here. Again, there's been hundreds of questions, and I can actually see so many of them being answered. So thanks for the team for doing this. There's a question here that's about signing up for the beta phase at any point within the year. That's absolutely fine within FreeAgent, and it's also okay with HMRC. They are, if you've missed Q1, it doesn't mean that this is now over for you in the beta. You can still join and file Q1 late, as it were. There aren't any penalties in this phase. So they are encouraging, and if you hear Craig Ogilvie talk at any of these events, he is very much constantly encouraging people to join, and that's absolutely fine and okay within FreeAgent. Let me just have a quick read of some of these. Yep, you can sign. You can sign your clients and yourself up through FreeAgent to connect to the beta. You don't need to do everything on HMRC's end. So once that you've registered there, everything can be done from within our product. I'll just show you kind of where that lives in our product, because there's kind of question about where that is. So let me just show this up just now. Here we go. So if I fill this record here, share my screen. So in our dashboard product, here we go. In our dashboard product, we have connections. Where do we have it? We have it in our settings. We have HMRC connections, and this is where you can manage your HMRC connections. So in dashboard and settings, this is the practice product, we allow you to start the journey here. This one's already connected. I made a submission before, and you can reconnect. So I think the reconnection expires every 18 months as a practice and as a client. So you can go through that journey of reconnecting. As you can see, when I click the reconnect button, I get sent to HMRC's website. I go through all the sign up and just reconsent that feed. And if I go back, I get taken back into FreeAgent. So the journey is kicked off from FreeAgent, does it on you put in your HMRC details, and then we connect it in the back end to FreeAgent. So that can all be done there. I'll stop sharing on this. Let me have a quick look. There's probably time for one more question to go from here. Here we go.
Stu, there was a question from Emma Barker about cash accounting or accruals accounting. I think Dianne might have replied electronically, but I don't know how to do that. You can. We've got a mixture of both cash accounting and accruals accounting, but Rebecca Bennyworth actually asked Craig Ogilvie whether you could swap. You know, if you start with cash accounting, can you swap midway? And he said that you would have to do all your quarterly returns on, for example, cash accounting. But then when you did your end of year, you could potentially swap to accruals if you wanted to, but it would have to be after the 4 quarters. So it's not written in blood, and there is flexibility.
Yeah, that's a great point, Bobbie. FreeAgent supports both cash accounting and accrual accounting. But one of the errors we have seen, and it's not unique to FreeAgent actually, it seems to be quite unanimous across the vendors, is people being signed up with HMRC on one basis, but then being in their accounting software on the other basis, and that means that HMRC will reject that submission. So you're absolutely right to call that out.
On that point, Stu, you know, when you first sign up a client and you get an email from HMRC saying you've signed them up, their name, the national insurance number, and the period, you know, either April 25 or April 26, you've signed them up. I did suggest to Craig Ogilvie that they actually put there whether we'd put them in on accruals or cash accounting on that basis. But apparently, when you do the sign-up process now, I don't think they're asking the question. So that might stop the error messages. But I know this was something that I think you'd flagged up with me the other day, didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. We've got a couple of minutes left. I think I'm going to finish on one question and then we call out in this kind of Q&A area. FreeAgent, you can import CSVs. You don't need to connect your bank if you don't want to. That's absolutely fine. And if you do use a personal bank account for whatever reason or import personal statement, we allow those transactions to be put to drawings, etc., and then they're outside of the scope of anything else. The last thing I want to say on Q&A is I want to give a wee shout out to Robin Milstead and the MTD therapy group. She's running a really great WhatsApp group that I encourage any practice to join, which is 500 plus now, I think, practices, all speaking about the different experiences of MTD, good, bad, ugly, and there's some vendors in there as well. So that's a good, if you've got further kind of questions that you want to ask the industry, it's a really good place to do so. And on that note, I will say thank you to you all for joining, and especially thank you to Dianne and Bobbie for taking the time to come and chat to us today. I hope you all have a...
Sorry, can you quickly show people how they can change between quarterly, the quarter dates to go month end or to the 5th within the license, please? Because that has come up an awful lot.
Yeah, I think we'll do that as a separate thing just now, Ben, if that's okay. But yeah, thanks everyone for your time today, and enjoy the rest of your day.